One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. To let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads, feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? 7 days, and we're back again for another episode of the Dominant Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball and Aaron Olinger. So before we jump into this story, which I know everybody is well familiar of, and everybody kind of got their own ideas, speculations, whatever, as to what's been going on. But we're going to jump into it in a minute. But before that, like always, we check and see what everybody done for the week. So we'll start with you, Aaron. What's up, brother? How was your week, and what went on with you?
Like I said, I got the rest of my garden in, and other than that, I just been relaxing, getting ready for the gun shows to start back up this coming weekend. So I had to get my orders in and get myself set up so I can be ready to get back to making some money.
Making money.
Yeah.
Making money. It's important. Yeah, it's just been relaxing with the family, and a lot of, obviously, what we're talking about right here, right now, has been a lot of coverage, a lot of people talking about it. And so I've been reporting it since Monday morning, and yeah, it's been an ongoing thing. So, but aside from that, it's been pretty peaceful here at the ranch here.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, for me, it's been same as always. moving around. Um, I haven't had an off day, and I know it's been several weeks since I've actually had an off day where I had nothing to do.
Oh man,
Uh,
what'd you do with yourself?
Saturday, of course, Saturday and Sunday, I was out. We were still doing the one horror film, Bubba Hoghead. I told you I was the assistant director on that, and it's been it's gonna be a good movie, man. It's a lot of stuff with it. Um, but then Monday, I'm like, okay, I don't have anything to do Monday, and got home and man, it was a ton of stuff to do. Yard work, cleaning the shed, power washing the house, all this other stuff I end up doing. So I end up spending my off day working, and then right back to work on Tuesday. So it's been it's been an ongoing thing. Then I got my two youngest kids. They'll be here Friday. They're gonna be here for the summer. So
Oh, dope.
I was trying to get everything ready Monday while I was off, so that way when they come on Friday, I got everything together. So it's been a ongoing thing.
Sounds exciting though.
Well, it is exciting, you know what I mean, because I haven't. I mean, since I've been down here to actually have them around for a while. We're gonna run around, do some camping and some fishing and all that, because they all big into doing that anyway. This is stuff
Right.
that we've been doing since they were little. So it'll be good to get them here. I'm gonna have my oldest son supposed to be down here a little after that. So be good to get them all in the same place at the same time and be able to move around and just have fun with your kids. You know what I mean? And with Father's Day coming up, and I was getting them, it made it even better. You know?
Yeah, that's big. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so it's a good thing. But so we're gonna jump into this because I'm pretty sure the comments are gonna light up on this one because, like I said, this is a controversial type
Mm-hmm.
situation here. You know what I mean? And you're gonna have some that agree, you're gonna have some that disagree, you're gonna have reasons why. You know what I mean? Some may agree to some things and not all of it, vice versa. I mean, but this is what the show is about. We're gonna put out what we know, and we're gonna have this conversation. You know what I mean? So, right, wrong, or indifferent, we're gonna we're gonna talk about it today. So, Los Angeles has been gripped with these uh, protests and riots following a series of militarized ICE raids that kind of left the community, um, left them reeling, so to speak. These raids was a part of a border federal crackdown on immigration that ignited a firestorm of controversy and resistance. The very presence of ICE agents clashed in technical gear and rioting vehicles only scared and heightened the tensions that was going on. So the tensions between the federal immigration, how do you say, immigration enforcement and the local communities has been the key point of this whole contradiction. So we're gonna kind of dive into it and talk about why this took place, um, the parameters around it, you know what I mean, and what needs to be done next to kind of fix this situation if it is, and can it actually be fixed. So this is what we're gonna dive in today. So I'm gonna let Aaron, I'm gonna let you dive into it first. Mike, I know you talked about it on your other show, so I know you're gonna have plenty to say on this. So we're gonna
Well,
yeah.
not necessarily, but yeah, no, it's absolutely that's the order that we usually do it, man. So
Right. So we're gonna bounce around, and we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna flip this stuff around here, and we're gonna see what we come up with. But go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. First, I want to define a couple terms. First term I want to define is the Insurrection Act that you hear them keep talking about on the news. That's basically a U.S. federal law that empowers the president to nationally deploy the U.S. military and federalize the National Guard units of individual states in specific circumstances, such as putting down civil disorders. And when you invoke the Insurrection Act, it is because state and local authorities have lost control of the situation. It's basically, it's the exception, the statutory exception to the Posse Comitatus Act. So what is the Posse Comitatus Act? Now, the Insurrection Act has been around since 1807. The Posse Comitatus Act was signed in 1878, and it's basically the federal law that limits power of the federal government in use of federal military personnel to enforce domestic policies in the U.S. So now you got to get into an issue here of what is it necessary, because the governor and the mayor feels that their police was handling the situation, where in all essence, the police was far outnumbered and was overwhelmed. They did not have control of that situation whatsoever. It was in the third day of it, and it was still going on. ICE agents was there to carry out high-risk warrants against people that have a criminal background. They was working in conjunction with Department of Homeland Security and FBI, who had found the records of these people and had shared them with ICE. And if you ever seen, they use the term militarized. And I love how the media uses terms like that. But whenever you're going after someone that has a felony history, that's a high risk warrant. And you're going to go in armed with enough firepower to be able to protect yourself and effectively overwhelm the individual that you're going there to get in the event that they try to resist. Now, upon them executing their warrant, that was a federal warrant, not a local state, they are in what is called a sanctuary state. That state had changed certain laws from the national laws, and a state has that authority because they have individual identity. They can have certain laws that may not be the law of the land. Like, for example, on the federal books, smoking marijuana is still illegal. On the local and state levels, smoking marijuana may be legal. So the federal may back off, and they won't exhort any rights there because the state has the ability to make that decision. For the feds to come in and overwhelm that, it would have to be a clear and present danger to national security, and smoking marijuana is, however, fentanyl is. And some of those individuals they was going after were a part of known criminal terrorist organizations and cartels. Because I looked up to see what was the problem with them. And when they went to execute those warrants, they was obstructed from doing their jobs by people who were rioting that was trying to fight them and things. And those guys showed extreme self-control, because they could have started blasting. They're armed for a high-risk situation, and they backed off because they were being attacked. Now, at that point, they have a right to carry out their job and not be obstructed. So now you have to send in troops to provide them the security so that they can now do their jobs. But again, the governor and the mayor feel that it was heavy-handed to send in the their local state National Guard and send in the U.S. Marines on top of it. Now, the governor and the mayor was trying to say this was peaceful protests. There's a difference between peaceful protests and a riot. And peaceful protests personal property is not being destroyed and people are not being injured. You're not throwing Molotov cocktails at deputies. You're not throwing bricks and heavy boulders over an overpass down at cars that could kill them or kill innocent civilians. That's a felony to do that. To throw a Molotov cocktail at a sheriff, that's a felony. I mean, they're doing things that do not fall under the preview of peaceful protester. So, does civil unrest promote a threat to national security? Most definitely. That's the reason why you don't want to have riots. But this situation is out of control. They're flying Venezuelan as well as Mexican flags and not the U.S. flag. I've got a problem with that. And now that they had to bring in the California National Guard has been federalized now. So that means they no longer take orders from the governor. They will now take orders from the president. So, and that falls under what you call Title 10. That's when you federalize the National Guard. And Title 10 has been declared. Now, the Insurrection Act has not been declared yet, but it don't have to. And then I had to investigate, is this being done by the U.S. government so that they can strategically avoid the Posse Comitatus Act and locate troops in different cities because they know we're getting ready to go to war? And because we're getting ready to go to war, they need to deploy troops now. They know what's coming. So this is organized and created so that they can locate troops in different cities to maintain continuity of government? Or is this being financed by someone like Neville, Soros? I sent Bishop a video earlier of the lady who owns the majority of Walmart. She's a billionaireess, and she was providing bionic face gear to the protesters, especially the professional ones, and that's at a cost of $45 a piece because she's mad that there may be tariffs put in place. So, and then you look at what's going on around the nation right now in other cities, most of them blue. There's more protests that are happening in other cities. In fact, last I heard an hour ago, it was 38, even though I don't see mainstream media reporting on all that's going on. So the Marines right now, they're not going to play games. They're not going to be shooting rubber bullets and pepper balls. They're there to put this down and reinstill order. So even if it ends today and it's no longer happening tomorrow, a third of the police cars are out of commission. So the public that's paying to be protected, they're not going to get the same level of protection now. The governor there and the mayor is going to have to ask for federal funds to pay for the millions of dollars in damages. And I wouldn't give them a dime at this point because they're letting this happen. You look at when this happened before, I mean, you had a civil war. Certain states thought they was above federal power and they broke off, and the federal government moved in to bring them back into line by sending in troops, and they defeated the Confederacy. You fast forward to the 60s, Governor George Wallace, who happened to be a Democrat, the longest serving governor of Alabama, when Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy got together and they thought it would be great to desegregate the school system. Governor George Wallace said, we're not going to have that here. You're not going to mix the races. And he had a bunch of state troopers, police, other people willing to fight. And he went up against the president of the United States. So we're not going to have it. We're not having it. They was going to arrest him. They sent in federal troops, National Guard, to protect those buses. And they let them know that in the end, the federal government trumps state, not the other way around. So, and in his situation, what made his situation a little bit different is the fact that if the state and local authorities will not help enforce or obey what the federal courts have told them to do, and that's exactly what happened there. The federal courts of the United States made desegregation law of the land, and he felt that as governor, he had the power to say no. And he was going to put all these people that were standing around and was ready to fight, but they were vastly outnumbered, and he had to give in the end. So this Governor Newsom, this Mayor Bass, are they going to give in? I think it's not a coincidence that LA was chose to start this at. It's the second largest population in the United States. And the Rodney King incident and that other guy that got choked out on the ground, the riots were much bigger compared to what it is going on now. So I'm for them getting the criminals up out of here. They said that they was going to deport 2 million out of the 21 million that's here. I do feel that the people that are here should be getting their paperwork in and try to make themselves be legitimate U.S. citizens. But I am not going to riot when they're going after criminals all the time. I don't know why people do. And then when innocent people get hurt, nobody says a word. I'm kind of lost on that concept. They were there to grab up known criminals that were associated with cartels and foreign terrorist organizations, and this whole thing got started. But the way it's organizing across the United States, there's big money behind this. This ain't a local grassroots thing, not anymore. So I don't know if it's the billionaires that are financing this, or if this is being allowed to happen so that they can put troops in place for the coming war with Iran and China. So right now, I'm kind of up in the air on it. But no matter what, if a riot breaks out and you got civil unrest going on and it's over and above the ability of the local authorities to handle it, then you have to bring in the National Guard first, and then the U.S. military standing on deck to take over if they can't reinstill order. But reinstill order has to be done. You can't have this going on. I'll stop there, man.
Okay. So
there was a lot.
That was a whole lot.
Yeah, that was a whole lot.
Okay, so let me start with Title 10. Okay, so under Title 10, the president can federalize the state National Guard in such numbers that he can seem as necessary to suppress a rebellion, execute the laws of the U.S. without invoking the Insurrection Act, which is a more sweeping act.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but here's the twist to that. Okay, and I see the twist to that being like a misuse of language. Now, I'm not saying that what he did was wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the language in which he put it, because Title 10, Section 12406 allows the president to federalize the National Guard only in cases of invasion, rebellion against federal authority, and inability of the state to enforce the U.S. law. Now, when you started out at first, it started out as a peaceful protest, and then we're gonna get into the reason why this escalated to what it went to. But anyway, when the National Guard is called, at first, it was initially Governor Newsom's job to call the National Guard in if he seemed fit. At that point in time, he did not see it as being fit because of the mayor, NYPD. I mean, not NYPD, excuse me,
LA.
LAPD, and Highway Patrol basically said that they had it covered. Now, mind you, there was some people in there that did some stuff that they wasn't supposed to do, which in all protests is always somebody that's going to do something that they wasn't supposed to do. Now, a lot of this stuff, when you look at it, you see it as the devil's in the details. Like it's more involved in this. Now, what you said before, that they came in and they were doing these raids on gang members and stuff like that. Okay, I get that. Now, that was something that he had talked about doing the campaign trail, that he was going to do that, starting with gang members and people that was involved in crime and stuff was who they were started out against. But the reason for this protest was not about them getting gang members. The protest started when they went into these elementary schools and these graduations pulling kids. That's what started this. When you had people to show up at these elementary schools dressed in plain clothes, regular cars, no identification whatsoever, and they did the little flip mode with the, and we here to do a wellness check on such and such, such and such, such and such, such and such, and that their parents gave permission. At one school, they were refused. Then they went to the graduations and started pulling kids. That's what started the protests. I'm pretty sure there wasn't nobody gonna sit there and do all the stuff that they was doing just based on them pulling some gang members out. This was the precursor when they started messing with those kids. Now, the escalation part started once they came back in, actually with, full battle armor going at it. That's when the tensions actually escalated. It wasn't before, when they was pulling them kids. Actually, a couple of them kids, before they even realized and got back to them parents, and the parents figured out where the kids were, the kids was already in Texas. They didn't already shipped them off that quick. That was the problem. That's how the protest initiated from the beginning. Now it got bad once they came in battle gear. That's when the rocks started being thrown and they started hitting the police cars and the ICE vehicles and stuff like that. I mean, I got video on here that if you want to play it, to show them what they was doing over there. And they were bashing up cars and setting electric cars on fire and all that other stuff. This was
I think we've all seen it.
Right. This was after the Guard and all that stuff had already been caught. Now, with the National Guard even being there, they can't police under Title 10. The only thing they can do is guard federal buildings and guard ICE agents.
True.
They can't actually police unless they got permission from Congress
or the Insurrection Act.
Right. But that's not in place.
Not yet.
They going on Title 10. Based on Title 10, there's only certain things that they can do. You know what I mean? So them actually going out there fighting.
They don't have arrest power or nothing. Correct.
Right. So them going out there trying to go after people, that's not what they're there for. But the reasoning also that they're fighting ICE, dealing with this, okay, yes, LA is a sanctuary city. And Mike, you know that because you're from California.
I'm from there.
Now, but also in California, when they went through in 2017 and started the sanctuary state law, which basically restricts law and local and state law enforcement from basically cooperating with ICE. You have to have a judicial warrant in order to go into any business, any school, anywhere else before you can take anyone, you have to have a judicial warrant. What they were doing, they had 0 warrants. They just busting up in people's houses and their jobs and everywhere else, pulling people out. Now, if you was going to do it the right way. That's not what they was doing. They were showing paperwork of people signing it, which was other ICE officers, that they were showing paperwork wasn't signed by a judge. They were signed by ICE officers. That's not a judicial warrant, which made what they were doing illegal. Now let's go back a bit, because this whole immigration thing is probably going to be the biggest thing that goes on right now anyway, because we know this is what they're doing, and they're doing it in several states, and we've talked about it on numerous shows. Back when, during the Biden administration, we did a show when we was talking about immigration. We was talking about all the people that they were bringing in, and we had our pros and cons to all of it. Nobody agreed to it. Nobody liked it, for the simple fact that they were getting, number one, you crowding. Number two, they getting benefits that regular citizens was not getting. Getting insurances, housing, all that other stuff. Everybody was complaining about it. And people all over the place dropping them off. I mean, a lot of the people that they brought in, they really didn't even know who they were, because a lot of them came with no IDs. The whole actual process of them coming in was botched from the beginning, because there was no way that they can sit there and categorize and put everybody where they needed to be for all the people that was coming through. We know that. We also knew that during that time that they were bringing in, it was a lot of, when they was talking about all these migrants coming through, they wasn't Mexican and South Americans. They were Chinese, Russian, Afghan, African males. Then you have Venezuela pops up, and they basically emptied out their prisons and shipped them all up here.
I remember when we were talking about this.
Right. So you had all that going on. Now, you got all this stuff going on here. You going through and like, okay, we're gonna shut down the border, and we're gonna start getting these people out. Now, when you're doing that, it's fine. If you're going through and you said, okay, we're gonna start with the criminals and the gangsters and all them, we're gonna get all them out of here first, then okay, fine, then do that. But that's not the whole case, though, because you actually pulling people. A lot of people that's been deported so far has been people that didn't have a record, people that actually was going through the process of getting their green card, that was actually checking in, doing the stuff that they were supposed to be doing. They waiting on court. They got deported as well. When the visas were taken, the visas got restricted. When they sent out the nice little letters to everybody telling them that they had 7 days to basically turn themselves in, or they get caught, then they just gonna get deported. It's been messy, to say the least. The whole thing has been messy. And they've been talking about how messy this has been for months now, how they've been doing it, because they just been grabbing people. And before you even realize it, before your family even realize it, you sitting off somewhere. A lot of these people that they were deporting, they ain't even sending them back to where they're supposed to go. They're sending them to random countries and dropping them off. So if you're going to deport them, at least send them back to where they're supposed to be. But you can't pull 200 South Americans and send them to fucking Sudan, and that's cool. You can't do that. That's not
a lot of time their government rejects them, though. What happens on that?
Right.
Okay, let me ask you this. The same way you took your ass to South Africa and loaded up people that you weren't supposed to bring, give them citizenship and bring them here, you could take their ass back and drop them off the same way. What are they going to say? If you pull up on a plane, drop off their people, and take the fuck off, what are they going to say? Nothing. Nothing. But you can't just load up people and send them to Sudan and El Salvador and where else that you done paid somebody to take these people. Send them back to where they came from. I mean, what about the what was the ones that they took 2 weeks ago? All of them was from South America. And you take them to Sudan and you drop them off. For what? Why don't you just take them back to South America and drop them off? If the government don't want them, guess what? That's their problem. Let them figure it out. Return to sender, not just throw them wherever. I mean, I don't think that's right. I mean, I don't think anybody can sit here and say that it's cool for you. Okay, I'm gonna deport you, but I'm just gonna send you wherever I'm gonna send you. That's not cool, man. What you got, Aaron? Because I know you. I see you sitting there shaking your head.
Yeah, you got to give it, Aaron.
Okay, one, I used the Afghan people that they were deporting. You can't send them back to Afghanistan because the Taliban would execute them. So you can't just drop them off there. You got to send them to another nation that's willing to take them. Someone in the comments said they don't understand why they have more rights than the U.S. citizens. They don't. They're not a U.S. citizen, therefore they have no rights that's protected to them under the Constitution. So if you have no constitutional rights, they can come snatch you up. As far as what Bishop said, having to have, what was that warrant that you said was called to arrest, signed by judicial warrant? That is very true. They did not have judicial warrants, but they did have federal warrants. And but the state, being it's a sanctuary state, changed the laws so that you cannot execute that type of warrant. You have to have a judicial warrant signed by a judge of California to make that arrest be a legal arrest. So again, the state is putting itself in a position to where, and this is due to the governor, that local law enforcement will not work with or support federal law enforcement, and local law enforcement is prohibited from helping federal law enforcement. That's due to the governor and the local mayors because they're sanctuary city. I am not for the states putting themselves above the federal government. I'm just not. And I don't like riots. With what's going on in the world right now, as a people, we need to be coming together for the threats. I mean, we're almost at the edge of nuclear war right now with certain nations. And we're sitting here fighting each other over petty shit right now that don't make any damn sense. And it's probably being financed by outside agitators. Because when you're shipping professional protesters to areas, that tells me that there's outside money involved here. So I'm not down with some of this at all. I do believe in getting these criminals up out of here. I don't feel that they should be allowed to stay. They have no rights because they're not U.S. citizens. I feel that ICE should be able to get them up out of here. But when you got states that defy the federal government and say that this is our sovereignty, you can't tell us what to do. We're a sanctuary city. We're a sanctuary state. The last time I checked, there is no sanctuary for murderers. In fact, there's no statute of limitations on murder. So if you want to go after these people who committed murders in other countries, and now they're over here, and you got a governor saying you can't touch them, they're under my protection. Man, that gets to be a bit much for me. I want my grandchildren to have a safe area to live in. Don't have to worry about drive-by shootings. I want my daughter to be safe. As an elderly person, I want to be safe to walk up and down the street. Hell yeah, get these criminals up out of here. But, you know, this has caused a mess. I mean, it's literally created a mess. And it could get worse. Some people in the news are saying it could spark a civil war, which, again, the riots themselves are much smaller than George Floyd and Rodney King and other riots that I've seen in my lifetime growing up. These are not nowhere on the level, but the money that's behind them is what's concerning me right now, and what hidden agendas could be in place. But I'm gonna stop there for right now.
Okay. So, based on what you just said, now I think everybody is watching want the streets to be safe, and no, we do not want the whole criminal element over here. Hell, we got enough crooks here as it is. I get you on that. When we did our show about the gang members over in Colorado, I'm with you on that. I'm not even talking about them. I don't even care about them. You know what I mean? If they're you just had a court case today in Texas where they were trying to deport so many gang members from Venezuela, whatever, and the court stopped them from doing it. I don't have anything. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who have actually came here to do this the right way. They came in, they applied for asylum, like a lot of them people from Haiti. They came in seeking asylum. Some come in from green cards. Some came in for their visas, for citizenship that's actually going through the process, waiting for their court hearing or their appeal or whatever that they got going on. Now, a lot of these people were taken. Like I said, they've been talking about here for the past couple of weeks about, how they can kind of go around habeas corpus and due process. Because of some of these, and let's just say, for instance, say you had 100 people there that they picked up, and they went through those 100 people, and they found out that 50 of those 100 people were currently either seeking asylum, had applied for a green card, visa, whatever, was going through the process, had no criminal background record, and was doing what they were supposed to do. Those 50 people, I say, me personally, let them go. You had another 50 that had criminal record of this, history of this, not applying for this, failure to appear on this. Yeah, we taking you going back home. You go with them. I agree with that. No problem. But when you start walking into graduations and a kid literally just got his high school diploma and you snatch him, I don't agree with that. When you go into elementary schools, snatching kids that has already been displaced when they came over in the first place, I don't agree with that. So if you're going to do it on one end, fine. When you making it a full spectrum thing where it's you just grabbing whoever the hell you see, I don't agree with that. They just had in the news, about 2 weeks ago, it was a guy in Arizona that came here from Haiti, came here, applied for his status, joined the military, joined the army, did 3 tours, 3 deployments overseas in Afghanistan, came home, received a letter from the Trump administration, the first administration, that he had fulfilled his obligation and that he would not be deported if anything ever came up. It's basically a get out of jail free card is basically what it was that he got. But he's driving to work and he gets surrounded at the stop sign by ICE, takes him into custody and puts him in a detention center. And he's been there for the past 3 months. Even though they have the letter, even though you have senators calling over there, checking to see why is this man being detained when he's already fulfilled his obligation, he's still sitting there.
And their government accepted them?
Yes.
Well,
why
yeah,
is he being
that's
detained?
ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Everything within reason, right? You know what I mean? Kind of like what you were saying about these guys, like 50% were criminals and 50% were trying to do it the right way. I say everything within reason. I mean, there has to be a little bit of common sense in it, which unfortunately there isn't in law. But when you're looking at it, it's like, okay, well, if this guy was supposed to go to his, hearing 2 years ago, and this fucking guy was supposed to show up for whatever, and he didn't, okay, yeah, you got to be taken away, but if you're actively showing that you're doing good faith, like you're actually attending your appointments, you're making sure that you're trying to do things lawfully, then yeah, at that point, yeah, you should leave them alone. I do agree with that. Everything within reason. But if they're, haven't seen the person they're supposed to be checking in with for the last 2 years, well, dude, it's your time.
Right.
You made that decision consciously to not follow up and be legal. That's your fault.
And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Make it fair.
Yeah.
Make it fair.
I agree with that. Immigration reform does need to happen. That's the way I look at it. It needs to be reformed.
And then put on top of that where, okay, so you doing like a mad grab right now. You grabbing any and everybody you can find.
Yeah, that's an exaggeration, but yeah,
no,
they're on missions.
Hear me out, because they grabbing the fuck out of people, and you know it. They just grabbed 150 of them just out of a plant here in Tallahassee.
So were any of those 150 people innocent?
Yes.
How many?
That's the problem. Because
how many?
They're not going through due process even figured out. That's
so they're getting deported as a citizen, and they're showing they're showing their birth certificate, and they're showing their stuff, and you're telling me they still got deported, dude. If I got my hands wrapped up, I'd be like, listen, I got all my paperwork, I got everything you need. That would be the first thing I say.
Did you not hear me when I just said that they just that they got a guy that's been detained for 3 months that served 3 tours in the Army?
Yes, I did hear that.
So why would you just say what you just said?
Well, because that's a specific case.
I'm not talking. Okay,
that could be targeted against that guy.
Okay, fine. What I'm saying is that they went right up here in Tallahassee just 2 weeks ago. They pulled over 150 people up out of this factory and locked them all up in a detention center.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are they going through due process? No.
So they didn't sort out they just sent everyone.
They're not sorting out shit. They just grabbing them and sending them.
Man,
just do the research.
How can you send me to something that I wasn't born to?
Kid from California just 2 days ago, and by the time they figured out where the kid was, the kid's in fucking Texas, in a damn detention center. A 12-year-old kid. They took the mother, left the kid on the street.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. You can't do that to the kid. You have to figure that shit out before you take her. You can't just do that.
That's what I'm saying. They just grabbing people. That's why they getting away from this. This is the whole reason why they keep talking about this due process, habeas corpus. Bring them before somebody. Let them prove whether or not they're supposed to be here or not before you ship them off.
Now, hold on. You know that me presenting my paperwork is due process. You do know that, right? Like, due process isn't always in seeing a judge. Due process is like, okay, we're going to hold you in detention. We're going to go ahead and see your paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And boom, you're released.
And they can go on a computer and do that easily. I'm telling you, that's not the case. If that was the case, a whole lot of them wouldn't be deported right now.
So who is wrongfully deported, aside from the one guy that came back with extra charges?
Do you want individual names?
No, I'm not calling for that. I'm not like pressing you on the issue. I'm just asking how many are, like, do you have a percentage?
Do I have an actual number? No. I just know it's a lot of them.
Okay.
Ain't nobody sitting here talking about no gang members. Ain't nobody, you ain't never seen not one news report talk about any gang members other than the one from
It doesn't have to be a gang member. You're here illegally.
But they're talking about a lot of these ones here that's actually going through the process, waiting for their hearings, that has applied for asylum, that applied for visas, that applied for whatever, that they were taken because of the fact that they did a zero tolerance policy, started in 2025, which consists of large-scale sweeps, high visibility arrests, removal of individual regardless of family ties or ongoing cases, which means they're grabbing everyone. So if you grabbing everyone and you deporting them, why the fuck are you personally going to pick up people from other places that ain't even seeking asylum and bring them the fuck over here? So you shipping them out on one end and bringing them in on the other. How does that make sense? Tell me where that makes sense. Either one of you. Tell me how that makes sense.
Oh, okay. You're asking me that question. The biggest thing goes back to Title 10. The biggest issue is who poses a threat to national security. If these are gang members, if they're people from prisons from other countries, do they pose a threat to national security? Yes. Under those conditions, you can get rid of them. Under Title 10, when you federalize, what you made was an excellent point earlier where you said they cannot do law enforcement activities. However, there's an exception in Title 10 that allows them to do it. If either one of you ever saw a movie called Sicario, then you would see that as long as they have one law enforcement officer with a group of CIA or a group of military guys, just one local law enforcement officer with them, they can conduct activities. And the group that's conducting the law enforcement just have that one cop with them, and they're going out and they're executing things, and they're doing it all the time. And people don't understand that they always have an exception to the rule, and these people will apply it. But if anyone under Enemy Alien Act or whatever could possibly in their background pose a threat to national security, the feds can go into sanctuary areas and grab them up and take them out of there, regardless of what the state says.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. And like I said previously, though, I mean, the National Guard can arrest if not by the president, but by Congress.
Right.
Congress gives them that authority to do so.
Correct.
But what I'm
and I get what you're saying when you're saying that they're grabbing up everybody. The problem that I see with that, and I've had it happen to me, is if someone has the same name that you have and they're out after someone and you're not a U.S. citizen where you got a social security number, they're going to grab you up. They're going to hold you until they can prove your identity. And if they don't want to spend a bunch of money on you, it's just safer for them to ship you on up out of here rather than keep you here and try to figure out, do they got the right guy or not? That gets too expensive. They'll just get rid of you. I've had a guy that's got the same name I've got, and the only difference between me and him is 10 years difference in age, and his credit rating is so screwed up that if it wasn't for the middle initial I had that was different from his and social security number, it's done flagged me several times of the trouble he's been in and his credit rating, everything. As soon as I put down Aaron Olinger and they go to run it, a credit check or whatever, that guy's name comes up with mine. And now I got to prove with my full social security number and my middle initial that we ain't the same guy. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there with the same last name, might have the same first name. And when they start grabbing people up in these screenings, man, you sure don't want to have a common name. Not under those circumstances. Right. And unfortunately, that guy that you described, that military guy, man, my heart goes out to him because they should not be fucking with him whatsoever.
What about the ones that came from What about the ones that came from Afghanistan? The ones that the government promised they could come here,
well,
for them helping in Iran.
Right.
for helping in Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, right.
And then you turn around and send them back.
You get ready to send them back, and they can't send them back to Afghanistan. They will be killed as soon as they get off the damn planes, and they got to send them to another nation that'd be willing to take them. And that to me is wrong. If they helped our personnel over there, man, there should be certain guarantees in place that cannot be revoked, no
That's my
matter
thing.
what
Exactly.
administration's in office.
Right. I agree with you. Like I said, if they put their life on the line to help the government in Afghanistan, and that was the promise that you made, that's the promise that you keep. Now, like I said, they all fall within this zero tolerance policy, but they shouldn't have, because of the role that they played. Now, when you have people that's came here that's seeking asylum from some of these war-torn countries like Haiti and Afghanistan, and some that came here from Ukraine, okay, I get that. You know what I mean? They're war-torn countries. We already know that. You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't be a part of this if this is the reason why they were fleeing in the first place. But we sitting here and we doing this mass scale sweep of people. Like I said, if they would have actually done their research on this guy, they'd have let him go. Even when they found out who he was, they should have let him go. But they didn't. They still got this man sitting there. Now they talking about opening up Guantanamo Bay and putting people there. And then you got all these, now these detention centers that they sending these people to, they're not federal detention centers. These places is being ran by them private corporations that got them private prisons. That's who's making the money off of that shit. Did y'all know that?
I've heard about it.
About the private prison system?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's who popping up with all these detention centers.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
Harbing all these people.
It's a money game, of course, for them.
So, exactly. It's a money game, which means the taxpayers pay for this part of it, and then they profit off of it. That's what that is. You use our money for you to make money. This is all a money grab. The only one that ain't getting no money out of shit is us. Now, what about all these people? Now, you know, like a lot of these people, like I said, they had actual jobs and was paying taxes and was actually doing what they were supposed to do. Well, just like when they passed the law down here in Florida and all the migrants jumped up and left Florida. What happened here? Everybody money dropped, because now you don't got people to work in these spots that you had all these other people working in. So the farms collapsed. People not out here picking all these damn vegetables and shaking these damn orange trees and lemon trees and everything else right here. They ain't doing that. So prices jumped up. Orange juice went from $3 a gallon to what? Something was like $6, almost $7, because they don't have the people here. Florida is a tourist state. A lot of these hotels, they were understaffed. They didn't have people to actually run. They didn't have people going there and clean the hotels, run the hotels. Disney, they didn't have a lot of people there. A lot of people, a lot of these people left. As soon as they put that law in place, they were gone. A lot of these people that you deporting are actually people that was actually doing what they were supposed to be doing. That was actually trying to get their little piece, that what everybody talk about, this American dream, make their own little piece out of this. And like I said, Never said anything about the ones that was actually doing stuff that they wasn't supposed to be doing. The ones that's not going to court. The one that chose, no, I'm not going to go over here and try to sign up for nothing. I'm just going to be on the run. Get that. Those, yeah, you do what you have to do. Not the ones that was actually out here law abiding and doing what they supposed to do. I mean, we got a sheriff here in Florida right now that's going through some stuff because he told DeSantis basically to fuck off, because DeSantis wants the sheriff department to start going around and just wrangling up illegals. He said, no, it's not my job to do. But this is going to be, this here, I feel, it started in LA, yes. It's going to end up spreading. It's going to end up spreading all over the place until it becomes a problem. But fix the problem. I mean, and the only way that I feel that you can fix the problem is, like I just said, if you capture these people, get their information, actually go through the actual due process. Are these people doing what they're supposed to be doing? If they're not, send them. If they are, leave them alone. Because you're going to make you're going to have more protests, which is going to cause riots, which is going to cause, you're going to have way more than this if you keep doing it like they're doing. Them walking up in military gear, in AK-47s and busting up in these armored vehicles, that ain't gonna get nobody to chill out. It's only going to escalate the problem. Go ahead.
Okay. And what I'm about to say now is an example of another roundup that may be just down the road. I don't know if everybody knows or not, but as of today, the United States is shutting down U.S. embassies in Bahrain, Iraq, and somewhere else over there. And it's looking like we're getting ready to go to war with Iran. Now, there's something called the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, and that allows the president to detain or deport the natives and citizens of an enemy nation. If we go to war with Iran, some of those Iranians that are over here that own some of these businesses, since if they're still claiming dual citizenship or whatever,
they're subject.
If they're from a enemy country, they can be rounded up, deported, and detained. So people might as well get it into their heads that this is just around the corner. And these are people that may have been here for years now, running businesses, going to work, may not even feel loyal to Iran no more, but under the Enemies Alien Act, they got to go up out of here.
They can use basically any law to get anybody up out of here.
Well, they can
use one to get me and you up out of here.
Yeah, these laws have been on the books. I mean, that one's been on the books since 1700s. The Insurrection Act, 1800s. Posse Comitatus Act, 1800s.
Once they put the Patriot Act in, and then they turned around and did the revision when they did the Restrict Act, there's nobody that's safe. Because all they got to do is just list you as a domestic terrorist and your ass is gone, whether you was a U.S. citizen or not. So we sitting here talking about this on the immigration standpoint, but there's laws in place that you can get rid of anybody you want to get rid of if you put the right thing in place behind it. All they got to do is use it. Now, when they started the Patriot Act, and then when they revamped it on the Restrict Act, that gave the president ability to rule anyone as a domestic terrorist. This was the part of the stuff that we was talking about when we was telling everybody to call and talk to your representatives, because you didn't realize what it was that they were getting ready to pass. Because that bill had way more in it than fucking TikTok.
Restrict.
And nobody paid attention to it.
Yep, we talked about it though.
And then people start wondering why couldn't the police rolling up at their house? Because they heard something on their doorbell camera, or they heard something on your cell phone that they had tapped into, or your TV, or anything else that you had in your house that was Bluetooth accessible.
Or your Alexa, you know.
So it gave them that permission. So no one is safe, actually. I mean, they can knock on your door, my door right now, and say that you listed as a domestic terrorist, and poop, your ass is gone. And before your family even realize where the hell you at, they done shipped you the fuck off somewhere. You ain't even in the damn United States. It could very well happen.
So how viral do you think it would be if I got picked up by ICE here in Alabama and then I went down to El Salvador and you know what I mean? I found myself, hey guys, you know what I mean? How viral do you think that would go?
I don't know. That depends. Depends on where they take you.
Where are they going to take me? Europe?
No, I'm just saying that depends on where they take you. Ain't no guarantee you going where you think you gonna go. Hell, you got people from South America end up in damn Sudan. Ain't no guarantee where you going. They taking a pick. They sitting there spinning the damn wheel wherever it stops. That's where okay, that's where you going. I mean, at least send them back to where they supposed to be. You know what I mean? If you from Ecuador, go send them back to Ecuador.
Well, good thing I'm from here, so that's good.
Send them back to Brazil. If you from China, what are you gonna do with them?
What happens when it says from America?
What are you gonna do with the Chinese or the Russians? Or
if they're illegal, send them back.
What are you gonna do with them?
If they're illegal,
are you gonna take a plane to China and be like, okay, guess what? We can ready to drop off all your people. You think they got to do that? Nope. You think they're gonna go to Russia and drop off the plane and say, okay, we're gonna drop off all your people? Nope. They're not gonna do it. Let's just put it where it's at. You ain't seen not one running around talk about them deporting no Chinese, no Filipino, no let's see, Russians, Ukrainians. Hell, Italians, Greeks. Have you seen them? Have you seen any of them on there being deported? Fuck no. Who you see being deported? Let's keep it real. Who y'all see being deported? Black and brown. Who you see being deported?
I see Mexicans and El Salvadorians. Brown,
like I just said.
I haven't seen any black. I haven't seen any black.
Show me some Chinese. Haitians, they black.
Hey, listen, if they're illegal,
like I said,
get them the fuck out. Like you know what I mean?
Show me some of them Chinese nationals that came across the border that we know came across.
If they're illegal, get them out.
Listen what I'm saying. When you watching the news, what do you see?
Mexicans.
Exactly. So if you want to make this seem fair, I mean, show some Chinese ones getting boarding up on them planes.
I agree.
It was a bunch of them that came across the border. Show them.
Yeah, I agree.
Them Koreans came across. Okay, show them. Y'all spent $15,000-$20,000 to go from Ecuador and move your way up through here and shit, and you came through there. Okay, let's see them on a plane. We ain't seen none yet though. But they damn show showing Mexicans, Venezuelans, Haitians. They damn show showing them. Show everybody. But while you sending all them off, then you stop bringing them in on the other side. You can cancel visas for all these countries, but you steady bringing people over here. You bringing them over here. They ain't fleeing coming over here. You bringing a fucking plane over here, picking them up and bringing them here and give them a welcome party and a fucking grab bag on their way out. Cut the shit. Stop it all the way together. If you actually trying to do this shit and you actually trying to deport, then you're not going to keep bringing people in on one end and kicking them out on the other. Make this shit make sense. And until you do that, it's going to still be bullshit.
That's where immigration reform comes in.
This ain't immigration reform.
No, it needs to happen though.
Yeah, this is courtesy of the Census Bureau. That's what this is.
How so?
This is courtesy of the Census Bureau. I ain't gonna get into it right now because I'll blow this bitch up if I say it.
We'll be demonetized and shit.
Yep. If I said it, it'll blow this bitch up. But if y'all want to know what I'm talking about, look it up. And you'll get everything you need to know. But we're gonna where we at? 110? Yeah, we're gonna drop it down for the evening. Like I said, with this right here, just pay attention. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody saying that we don't have to do immigration, but it has to be smart about it. I mean, you got to have some kind of, I mean, even with the laws and all the laws that they have, there's still morals here. There's still right and wrong. There's still right and wrong. And some of the shit that they're doing is wrong. That's all I'm saying. Look at it for what it is. Do your research for what it is. It's not the fact that you got 20 million of them here. I agree with you on that. It's not about them getting all the, the checks and the medical and all. I get you on all that. I agree with you 100% on that. But when you affecting everyone in one fell swoop as to every single person is no good and every single person got to go, that's not what you said. You're going against what you're saying here. You know what I mean? This country was built from immigrants because nobody was here. Nobody, none of us sitting here talking was here. We were brought here. This country was brought up and was built by immigrants. This whole thing that we got going on now just don't make sense. But like I said, thank everybody for coming out like always. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Pass the show on. We just gotta do better, people. I mean, I'm just saying, you just gotta do better, man. I mean, this makes no sense, and you don't hear about it nowhere else. It's always here. Something got to give. Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, personally, I think we're headed toward a major war. The economies, it took World War II to bring us out of the Great Depression. We was in the Great Depression for 12 to 15 years. They had to reduce world population in order to provide full employment for everybody. We're in a bad way. China, Russia, Japan, everybody is in a bad way right now. And I think we're headed towards something major. And I advise people to be seriously prepping like your life counts on it right now. Because in the first 24 hours after the emergency alert sounds on your phone or your television, chaos is going to erupt. And you don't want to have to be out there trying to acquire resources when the chaos erupts. People are going to leave their jobs. The roads are going to become stuck. The banks are going to be lined up. The grocery stores will be empty in 4 or 5 hours. I mean, you've seen it in hurricanes. Gas stations run out of gas. Stores run out of goods. Be prepping people so that when the shit hits the fan and it ain't that far down the road, you're not out there stuck in the madness that's going to occur in the first 24 hours. I'll stop there.
Well, with that being said, both you gentlemen, thank you guys for bringing this topic with the amount of information that you guys did. As always appreciate that. I think these are valuable talks. Nonetheless, whether people agree with it, disagree with it, I think that's valuable, and I very much appreciate all of everyone's side there, man. So, listen, I very much appreciate every single one of you guys. Much love, honor, respect to everybody. I always appreciate everyone. We'll see you guys here in 7 days. And if you guys are on my side, of course, we'll see you guys here tomorrow morning. But until then, much love, honor, respect, everybody. And hopefully you all have a wonderful evening. Much love.